He made you feel like he was a good old boy, and you were his best friend.
Hello.
Hello, come in.
All you need to do is bring money, and that was the big sell.
How much money do you want this time?
7,000 should take care of us for now. Be very happy with this.
I'm sure I will, with you handling it.
He looked like a nice young man. You know, go to church every Sunday and all that.
Elder financial abuse is a national epidemic, especially when it comes to seniors with some form of cognitive impairment, such as dementia or early Alzheimer's. Every fifth American now over the age of 65, that's almost 7.5 million people, have already been victimized by financial fraud, making these seniors our nation's most exploited citizens.
1 in 5 of everybody you see on these sidewalks in about 20 years will be age 65 or older. In 20 years after that, 50% of them are going to have some cognitive impairment, dementia, that will make them extremely vulnerable to being defrauded of their money.
Each year, con artists swindle elders out of more than $2.5 billion. Being a victim of fraud can make you dead broke. Older people just don't have time to make up for the losses.
Older people control 70% of the wealth in this country. So the money is there, and you have professional scam artists who know where the money is, and they've developed a great set of tools to go get it.
Most licensed broker-dealers and investment advisors are legitimate, but there are a few bad apples, like there is in everything else in life. And they can really come forth with a product that sounds too good to be true, and it probably is, and they use it like you would an instrument of mass destruction. It's a very dangerous situation today, and it's getting more dangerous.
People look at me and figure, number 1, she's old. Number 2, she's a woman. Number 3, she won't be able to do anything about it anyway.
So why do we become more vulnerable to financial fraud as we age? What actually happens to our brains?
The older brain shrinks in size. There's less fluid in it. It's not as big as it used to be. The neurons, electrical signals, the pathways for cognitive function are all impaired. Then when you overlay cognitive impairment on this normal age-related change, then you have an individual who is not fully capable of making sound financial decisions.
Karen Wilson understands that all too well.
She was incapacitated. She was in a situation where she was completely broke. She had no money left.
Helplessly, she watched as her mother's cognitive capacity started to decline.
She was really a wonderful mother, really sweet and calm and caring. I'd taken her shopping and we went into a jewelry store, and just for fun, like a breakfast at Tiffany's moment, I looked at a ring and I said, "I love this, do you?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "I'll buy it for you." And I said, "Mother, it's like $60,000. And she goes, "That's okay, I have my checkbook." And I knew she was being serious, and I knew that she was not okay mentally.
People with early onset dementia are more willing to gamble literally with their money. And of course, some dishonest quote-unquote money managers take advantage. And the result? Countless horror stories.
I have an aunt who lives in the Midwest. One afternoon, she got a phone call, and during this phone call, she was convinced to send $5,000 Western Union, which she did. So she called the police, and they tried to trace it, and of course, by that time, the money was gone.
A gentleman in Houston was treated for having fallen into the Nigerian email scam. He had about $750,000, and he lost all but $35,000. And he felt like if he gave that last $35,000, he'd got all his money back.
Even legitimate, everyday investing opportunities can become a nightmare.
We had one example where a 90-year-old woman was advised to go into a 15-year or 12-year CD, which was totally inappropriate. She made the investment. The person that sold it to her was legitimate, but used very bad judgment, and it really wasn't suitable for her.
Yes, it's very frustrating. They look at you and think, oh, well, she doesn't have anything left up there. We can rip her off and it'll be okay. And it's not okay.
Hand in hand with financial abuse is the shame of having been taken. It's embarrassing to fall for a high-pressure sale or a friendly voice on the phone promising fantastic returns.
We decided to take her checking account out of her hands because, there were checks being written that we couldn't document. We should have started preparing 15 or 20 years earlier.
When a loved one is in cognitive decline, family members can be in massive denial, unable to reverse the roles of who was caring for whom.
She died in a deficit situation, somebody who'd worked that hard her whole life. I'm guilty. I wasn't there. I didn't do the right things.
So what can we do to stem the rising tide of financial abuse? Do medical professionals have a responsibility to protect our vulnerable elders?
Any healthcare provider knows that they have an ethical and legal responsibility to report elder abuse. Financial fraud is elder abuse, pure and simple.
Talking together about financial fraud, the same way you would discuss high blood pressure or diabetes, is a good prescription for prevention. So, becoming educated is key.
On our intake form in our office, we do have a question, are you having financial difficulties or stress? And if appropriate, we can help refer people to community resources.
Even people with mild cognitive impairment lose the ability to make good financial decisions.
People with mild cognitive impairment can go to the opera, play golf, go out to dinner with friends, have fun, almost be like their old selves, with the exception of managing their money. They make financial errors 4 times that of persons who don't have mild cognitive impairment.
There are signs that can help healthcare providers and family members identify a potential problem. Has a patient or relative become socially isolated? Have they made questionable financial decisions or been asked to change their will? Have you noticed deterioration in their ability to make daily decisions?
The worst thing you can do is be disconnected and isolated.
Your parents need for you to take control. They need to have one of their children manage their health care and manage their investments at the same time.
Everything under control?
State securities regulators and medical professionals, in partnership with Adult Protective Services, have recognized this perfect storm and are tackling it head-on, knowing full well that the tsunami of aging baby boomers will double the number of older Americans, which could double the risk of exploited seniors over the next 20 years.
Thanks a lot.
Everybody needs to stop and think of themselves as someday being a frail, older person and asking him or herself, what type of systems do I want to have in place when it's my turn?
We know that it's difficult to get involved in somebody else's business. It's not fun. It takes time. There's certain liability involved, and we recognize that. And we at the state level are going to try to ease that so that it's minimal.
That's our goal, is to help everybody have as good an old age as they can.
I have complete faith in people. I keep thinking that maybe they just have had a bad day or a bad situation. You kind of hate to give up on people. So you just keep hoping that things get better.
The Pennsylvania Securities Commission is proud to support investor education programs on public television. The Commission's mission is to protect investors through unbiased and objective investor education and through the enforcement of securities law.